Okay, we are looking at worksheet 40 and we are talking about proportions and solving for an unknown. So I'm going to zoom on in here a little bit and we're going to get started. So the idea here, and I'm going to start with this, I'm not worried about this negative sign, but we are going to deal with them in a minute. Whenever you have a fraction equal to fraction, we are trying to get the denominators out of there. And rather than multiplying everything by r and then multiplying everything again by 4, we can do a shortcut. A shortcut is cross multiplication. All right, so add this on the top because we don't really have formal notes. This is definitely a review for you. Cross multiplication is a shortcut to multiply out the denominators. So your examples, if you have a over b equals c over d, when you cross multiply, you make this x pattern. And so you take a times d and you say that is equal to b times c. Okay, so you crisscross again, a times d equals b times c, and then you would solve for the unknown pieces. Now we're starting off on number 1 with these negative signs, so I'm actually going to jump to number 4. Now, one of the things that you guys might consider doing, and I don't think most people would do this, you could reduce the 4 and the 8 just because it's a fraction that reduces. You cannot cross cancel like you do with multiplication. I'm just going to jump in because I think more people would just jump in. And I'm going to take 10 times 8. Now, normally I won't write this, but I'm going to write it for you now. 10 times 8 equals 4 times n. So we can shorten what we're doing, but right now we're going to write it out. So the 10 times 8 equals 4 times n. That's 80 equals 4n. And then we're solving for n, so I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So I get 20 equals n, or n equals 20. If it's true, I can plug it in. 10 divided by 20 is a half. 4 divided by 8 is a half. Now let's go back up to number 1 with these negative signs. So one of the problems with negative signs is people forget them. And so I want to give you a couple reminders. When you have this negative 3 over r, you can rewrite it as negative 3 over r. You can rewrite it as 3 over negative r. These are equivalent. But if I try to write it as negative 3 over negative r, that becomes a positive, doesn't it? So this is no good. So I have a negative number. A negative divided by positive is a negative. A positive divided by negative is a negative. So I typically, whenever I have this negative sign, I'm going to push it up into the numerator. So this negative, I'm going to push it up into the numerator because they get lost. So, if you're good with your negative signs and you don't want to push it to the numerator, that's fine. But when you're starting to get them wrong, that's going to change. So we're going to take our negative 3 times 4 and set that equal to r times negative 6. Now the order of your multiplication doesn't matter. The order that it's on the sides doesn't matter. We have negative 12 equals negative 6r. So these negative signs, divide by negative 6 to get 1, are going to cancel out, and I get r equals 2. So on these, we probably could skip to the second step. So let's do that on our next one. And then we have to step it up after these. All right, so look at number 2. I see a negative sign, so I'm going to push that to go with the 3. This one's positive. So here it is. It's going to be negative 3 times k equals, and instead of writing 9 times 10, I'm just going to make it 90. So as long as I'm okay with that, I can skip that step, but you need to show this. I want at least one step, and then we divide both sides by negative 3k, and I get k equals negative 30. So I'm being very clear. When you do your worksheet, we need at least that one step, what you did, and then your answer. Okay, so go ahead, take a quick second and do number 3. Think about what would help you. Push that negative. It's going to be negative x times 3 or negative 3x equals 4 times 6 or 24. So if you're okay skipping that first step, that's fine. Divide both sides by negative 3. X equals negative 8. All right, so that's it for these single piece fractions. Now, look at number 5. You see a difference here. First thing I see, I'm going to go ahead and push my negatives to the numerator. But what else is here? There's not just one piece under here, there's 2. So this is what we have to be careful with. when I go to multiply, it's not just 2x or negative 2x, it's negative 2 times x plus 7. So I'm going to write that first step equals 9 times negative 10, which is negative 90. So I'm really stressing this because it's negative 2 times x, which is negative 2x, and negative 2 times 7, which is negative 14. So we now have a two-step solving equation. So this is why it's important to distribute. It's not just negative 2x plus 7, it's negative 2 times the whole thing. Okay, so let's add 14. I believe I get negative 2x equals 76, negative 76. Anybody agree? Anybody agree? And I think that gives me positive 38. 76 divided by 2. Yep, I'm dividing both sides by negative 2. And I get x equals 38. Okay. Let's move on to number 6. Very similar idea, but the two pieces are up here. So when I cross multiply, I'm going to write 8 times b minus 5 equals 4 times 5. And again, you can write that out or you can write it out as a problem. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and distribute. 8b minus 40 equals 20. So now I've got my cross products cleaned up. I'm going to start solving. So add 40. 8b equals 60. That's not pretty. Did I screw anything up? I mean, we're not always going to get pretty answers. I just want to make sure. 40, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm good. So this, if I wanted to divide 60 divided by 8, I'm going to get a decimal. Oh, that's not horrible. So I might get a decimal of 7.5, or maybe I put it in as a fraction and I reduce it to 7.5, or you can convert, look, second and mixed number to improper fraction if you don't do that in your head, and you get 15/2. So any of those answers would work. Oops. All right. Good thing if I wrote on the paper. All right. I'm going to jump to number 9. Actually, that's a lie. Let's just stick to 7. I just looked at the negative signs. First thing I want to see you do is change your signs if you think you might forget them. It's easy to forget them. And then we're going to set it up as negative 4 times the quantity, a plus 3. So this is the big area where we see the mistakes. And that would be negative 6a. So distribute, watch your signs, negative 4a minus 12 equals negative 6a. Now notice there's a's on both sides of this one. Okay, so that's a little different. One of the things that I want to consider is where do I want to move things? And if I have an a over here and nothing else, then I want to take this and bring it over. So some people might be bothered by that because my a is negative, but I don't want to be moving it all around. So I get negative 2a over here. Now I'm good to solve by dividing both sides by negative 2, and I get that a is positive 6. Okay, I want to jump down to, I guess, number 11. And then you guys are going to try a couple of these on your own, and then we'll check them together. So looking at number 11, we are going to cross multiply, but there's more stuff going on. So I have 4 times 2a plus 1 equals 6 times 5a minus 2. So we definitely have some work to do. We're going to distribute. That'd be 8a plus 4 equals 30a minus 12. Okay, so if you're a person who likes to keep the a positive, I'm guessing you would want to move the 8 over here by subtracting. Make sure you change the signs to cancel it. 4 equals 22a minus 12. Then since a is over here, that makes sense to leave it and pull the 12. Oh, this one's not very pretty either. Double check my math and make sure I'm good here. That'd be 8a plus 4, 30a minus 12. Yeah, I think we just have some not so pretty problems. divide both sides by 22. So A equals, and you can put this in the calculator and reduce it. We're going to get 8 over 11. Or let's see. So if I put in 16 fraction, use my fraction key 22, I get a reduced fraction at 8/11. If I want to change a fraction to decimal, see where it says fraction decimal, hit second, hit that key, and it will give me that 0.72 repeating, or 0.73 if you round it. Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4 problems I'd like you to try. So 8, 9, 10, and 12. So give those a try, pause this recording, and then we'll look at them. All right, so I went ahead and highlighted the ones that I asked you guys to pause this and do. The first one was we had 5 times 2x plus 7, and then the 9 times x. So it does take a little more time to solve these because you have to distribute, you have variables on both sides. So I chose to switch this over here to get the x by itself, and I got negative 35. All right, we're just going to move down the line here in case you need this still up. This one had a lot going on too. So instead of taking the 2m plus 1 times 5, I put the 5 out front times that. It doesn't matter how you wrote it, as long as you distribute that. And same with 9 times the m plus 7. So we make sure you're distributing and changing all these terms. And then I chose to move the m to the left. That's my habit of changing the m value or moving the variable first. And then I took this 5 and I switched it over to get a positive 58. All right, and this number 12, we still have to go over one more, number 9 on the left. Same idea, 2 times all of this, 8 times all of this. Again, you need to make sure that you're changing both numbers when you distribute. You don't forget that second piece. I chose to move this 4x over by subtracting it to keep a positive x. Maybe you went the other way. If you went the other way, we'll have everything the same but flip-flop signs. I then added the 24 and divided. So 10.5 or 21 over 2. Not a perfect little number, but that's okay. All right, and in number 9, we had a negative sign. So I addressed that first, and I took negative 2 times p minus 4 equals 3 times 8p, and then we would distribute this. And again, I chose to move that over to make it a positive, and divided by 26. Make sure you're paying attention. It is 8 divided by 26, which is 4/13 or 0.31.